I remember the exact moment my father threw my future away and called it trash. It was my wedding day. Everyone was watching. Smiling. Toasting. Pretending to be happy for me. And then he stood up, holding the one thing my grandfather left me, a small, worn-out passbook, and laughed. This is what he left you, he said, loud enough for the entire room to hear. And before I could even react, he tossed it into a bucket of ice like it meant nothing. People laughed. Some looked away. And I just stood there, smiling. Because in that exact moment, I realized something no one else did. He didn't just humiliate me. He made the biggest mistake of his life. What he called it trash was worth over $12 million. And the man who spent my entire life treating me like I was nothing, was about to sign his own downfall with his own hands. But I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I waited. And what I did next, destroyed everything he built. If you've ever been underestimated, ignored, or made to feel small by someone who thought they were untouchable, this story is for you. Before we go on, I want to ask you something real. Have you ever stayed silent, not because you were weak, but because you were planning something bigger? If you have, drop a comment with the word waiting. I read every single one. And if you believe that patience can be more powerful than revenge, take a second to like this video and subscribe. Because stories like this, they don't end the way people expect. Now let me tell you exactly how I turned that moment into the end of my father's empire. Most people never noticed me, and for a long time, I told myself that was okay. At 29, I built a life that didn't need applause. I worked as a nurse, moving quietly through hospital halls, taking care of people at their most fragile moments. There, I mattered. Patients looked at me like I was someone they could trust, sometimes even someone who made their pain a little easier to carry. But once my shift ended, I disappeared again. At home, things were different. My husband, Daniel Hayes, never looked through me, he looked at me. With him, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like I had to earn my place in the room. But there was one place where that version of me didn't exist. My father's world. To him, I was never enough. Not successful enough. Not strong enough. Not worthy of his name. Just a quiet disappointment he tolerated. And no matter how far I thought I had come, all it took was one invitation to pull me back into that version of myself. My wedding day. I thought it would be the beginning of something new. I had no idea, it was actually the beginning of everything that would break. My father, Richard Carter, never entered a room, he took it. People admired him. Or at least, they pretended to. A successful businessman, always dressed perfectly, always speaking like he owned not just companies, but people. He built his image on control, power, and the illusion of success. And me? I was the flaw in that image. From the time I was a child, he made it clear I didn't fit into the life he wanted to display. I wasn't impressive. I wasn't useful. I wasn't someone he could show off. But my brother, Lucas Carter? He was everything I wasn't. Loud. Reckless. Entitled. And protected. At family gatherings, my father would praise Lucas like an investment, and dismiss me like a bad decision he couldn't undo. I learned early to stay quiet. To observe. To survive. Because arguing never worked with him. He didn't want a daughter. He wanted control. And on my wedding day, he was about to remind me of that in front of everyone. The first sign that something was wrong didn't come with shouting. It came with a smile. The morning of my wedding, my father pulled me aside, adjusting his cufflinks like this was just another business meeting. His eyes scanned me, not like a father seeing his daughter, but like a man evaluating a mistake. "You look acceptable," he said. Acceptable. Not beautiful. Not proud. Not even enough to fake warmth. Then he leaned in slightly, lowering his voice just enough so no one else could hear. "Let's try not to embarrass the family today." I remember nodding. Smiling. playing my part. Because that's what I had always done. But something about the way he said it stayed with me. It wasn't just criticism. It was a warning. And I didn't know it yet, but he wasn't talking about me. He was already planning something. Something that would turn that entire day into a stage, and me into the center of his humiliation. The reception was perfect, at least on the surface. Soft music. Crystal glasses. People laughing like nothing in the world could go wrong. I stayed close to Daniel, holding on to the one thing that felt real in that room. And then my father stood up. He tapped his glass, smiling as all eyes turned to him. I felt it instantly, that shift in the air. That quiet tension I had known my entire life. "I'd like to say a few words about my daughter," he began. My stomach tightened. At first, it sounded normal. A few polite sentences. Carefully chosen words. But then his tone changed. Subtle. Sharp. And despite her limitations, she managed to find someone willing to marry her. A few nervous laughs. I felt my fingers tighten around the glass. Then he picked it up. The small, worn passbook my grandfather had left me. "This," he said, raising it slightly, "is the kind of inheritance she values." And before I could move, he dropped it into a bucket of ice beside him. Just like that. Laughter. Shock. Silence. And I stood there, smiling. Because in that moment, something inside me didn't break. It woke up. And he had no idea what he had just started. No one came to my defense. Not when the laughter faded. Not when I quietly walked to the table and pulled the soaked passbook out of the ice. Pages damp, ink slightly smudged, but still intact. My father didn't even look at me. To him, it was over. Just another moment where he proved his point. But later that night, he came to find me. No audience this time. No performance. Just calculation. "You don't understand what you're holding," he said, his tone calm, almost patient. "Let me handle it. I'll protect it, and you." I felt it immediately. This wasn't concern. It was interest. Control. He wanted it. And when I didn't answer right away, his expression shifted, just slightly. "You've never managed anything in your life, Evelyn. Don't start pretending now." That was the moment I understood something clearly. He didn't just want to humiliate me. He wanted to take the last thing that was mine. And if I let him, I would lose more than money. So I did what I had always done. I stayed quiet. But this time, it wasn't submission. It was the beginning of something else. That night, after everyone left, I sat on the edge of the bed staring at the passbook in my hands. The pages were still damp. Fragile. Old. Just like he said. For a moment, I almost believed him. That maybe it was nothing. That maybe I was holding on to something meaningless just because it came from the only person who had ever treated me like I mattered, my grandfather. And then I broke. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quietly. Tears I had held back for years finally slipped through, one after another, until I couldn't tell if I was crying for that moment, or for everything that came before it. Daniel sat beside me, silent. He didn't interrupt. He didn't try to fix it. He just waited. And when I finally looked at him, I asked the only question that mattered. "Can you check this for me?" He took the passbook carefully, his expression shifting the moment he opened it. Not confusion. Recognition. Concern. That was the first time I felt it. Something wasn't right. And whatever this was, it was bigger than I ever imagined. Daniel didn't speak right away. He turned each page slowly, carefully, like he was afraid to damage something fragile, but I could see it in his eyes. This wasn't just old. It was important. "These entries," he murmured, almost to himself. "They go back decades. My heart started to beat faster. What does that mean? I asked. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something I had never seen before. Shock. Evelyn, this isn't a regular account. He explained quietly. Long-term deposits. Old investment links. Names of companies that didn't mean much to me but meant everything to him. And then he said it. A number so high, it didn't feel real. Over $12 million. For a second, the room felt smaller. Like the air had changed. And the only thing I could think about wasn't the money. It was my father's face. The way he laughed. The way he threw it away. The way he assumed I was too small to understand what I had. That's when something inside me settled. Not anger. Clarity. I'm not telling him, I said. Daniel nodded slowly. Because we both understood the same thing at that moment. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about what I was going to do with the truth. From the outside, nothing changed. I still smiled at family events. I still answered my father's messages when he called me useful, only when it benefited him. I still played the role he had assigned me my entire life, the quiet, forgettable daughter. But inside, everything had shifted. Now I knew what he didn't. And knowledge like that changes the way you breathe. My father started acting differently after the wedding. More direct. More invasive. He asked about the passbook again, pretending it was for my safety, but his eyes gave him away every time he said it. Lucas, my brother, started showing up too often at my apartment. Loud. Impatient. Watching everything like he expected something to be handed to him. And Daniel, he started digging. Late nights. Screens glowing in the dark. Financial records, old filings, hidden patterns. One night, he closed his laptop slowly. Your father isn't just greedy, he said. I felt my stomach tighten. He's exposed. If anyone looks closely, he falls. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just my secret. It was a weapon. And he still thought he was winning. After Daniel told me the truth, I stopped seeing my father as just a man I feared. I started seeing him as a pattern. Every message he sent, every casual visit, every time he mentioned the passbook, it wasn't random. It was pressure. Testing. Pushing to see if I would crack. So I didn't. I became quieter than before, but in a different way. Not the silence of someone defeated, but of someone observing. I noticed how he always spoke about money, but never showed it. How he bragged about deals that had no details. How people around him laughed too quickly, agreed too easily. Lucas followed him like a shadow, repeating everything he said without thinking. And my father loved it. One night, I sat across from Daniel as he showed me something on his screen, transfers that didn't add up, companies moving money in circles that made no sense. He's hiding something big, Daniel said. Something that can collapse if the right person pulls one thread. I felt it then. Not fear. Precision. Because for the first time, I wasn't reacting to my father anymore. I was learning him. And he had no idea I was already counting his weaknesses. I didn't confront my father. I didn't warn him. I didn't even change how I spoke to him. Instead, I let him believe I was exactly where he wanted me, uncertain, overwhelmed, and still dependent. When he asked about the passbook again, I hesitated just long enough to look vulnerable. I don't really understand it, I told him. That was all he needed. His eyes softened in the way they always did when he thought he was in control. Of course you don't, he said, almost gently. Give it to me. I'll take care of everything. And for the first time, I nodded. Not because I trusted him, but because I needed him to believe I did. That same night, Daniel helped me prepare copies, carefully documented scans, timestamps, and financial traces tied to the account. Everything my father assumed I would never think to check. We didn't move fast. We moved correctly. Because Daniel said something that stuck with me. Men like him don't fall because of strength. They fall because they get comfortable. So I gave him comfort. And while he believed he was closing his hand around my life, he was actually stepping into mine. It should have worked smoothly. That was the plan. But my father was never as careless as I wanted him to be. 3 days after I handed him the passbook, Daniel showed me something that made my stomach drop. "He's moving faster than expected," he said. On the screen, transactions were shifting, accounts being reorganized, names changing, money being redirected like he was cleaning something before it was exposed. "He suspects something?" I asked. Daniel shook his head. "No, he's panicking." That word changed everything. Because panic makes people unpredictable. And unpredictable people make mistakes, or expose you. That night, my father called me. His voice was calm, too calm. "I want to see you tomorrow," he said. Alone. No explanation. No warmth. Just a command. When I hung up, Daniel didn't need to ask. We both knew what this meant. The game was no longer hidden. And if I stepped into that meeting wrong, everything I built in silence could collapse before I ever got the chance to finish it. I almost didn't go. For the first time, I felt the weight of what I was doing, not fear of him, but fear of being exposed before I was ready. But Daniel looked at me and said something simple. "If you don't go, he wins early." So I went. I met my father in a private lounge he had reserved like he owned the place. He stood by the window, calm, hands behind his back, like nothing in the world could touch him. "You've been distant," he said. I didn't answer. His eyes narrowed slightly. "Where is the passbook?" That was the test. I forced my voice to stay steady. "Safe." A pause. Then he smiled. "Good." That smile told me everything. He believed me. He slid a document across the table. "You'll sign this later. Just formalities. It protects you." But I didn't look at it yet. Because I noticed something else. A second folder beside it. He wasn't just taking the passbook. He was preparing to take everything. And for the first time, I realized I might have to lose something first to trap him completely. I took the folder home without signing anything. Daniel was already waiting, and the moment he saw it, his expression changed. "This isn't protection," he said. "It's control." We went through every page together. Slowly. Carefully. And then we saw it. My father hadn't just prepared a simple agreement. He had built a trap of his own. A structure that tried to transfer responsibility for old financial operations onto me, quietly, legally, buried in language most people would never read. If I signed it, I would unknowingly become tied to his past actions. Not as a victim. As a shield. Daniel leaned back, exhaling. He's not just hiding something. He's trying to survive something that's already closing in on him. That was when everything clicked. The urgency. The pressure. The sudden interest in the passbook. He didn't want my inheritance. He needed access to clean himself. And I finally understood the shape of the trap. So I made a decision. Not to escape it. But to let him believe it was working, until the moment it couldn't be undone. The event was everything my father loved: luxury, cameras, powerful guests, public attention. He called it a charity finance summit. Daniel called it a stage. I walked in with him beside me, holding a simple envelope. Inside were the documents my father had been waiting for, at least, what he thought were the documents. He greeted me with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Finally," he said. "You're doing the right thing." I didn't answer. I just sat down and signed. Every page. Calm. Controlled. Silent. He didn't even read them carefully. He never did. What he signed was not protection. It was authorization. A legal structure Daniel had prepared that linked him directly to every suspicious financial movement tied to his old network. When he finished, he actually laughed. Then he walked onto the stage. And that's when he said it. My daughter and I have secured over $12 million in legacy assets. The room went quiet. He thought he had one. But behind him, the doors opened. And federal agents walked in. The applause my father expected never came. The silence after his announcement wasn't admiration, it was recognition. 2 federal agents stepped onto the stage. Another moved through the crowd. Phones lifted. Whispering spread like fire. Richard Carter, one of them said clearly, "You are under arrest for financial fraud, misrepresentation, and operating an unregistered investment scheme." For the first time in my life, I saw my father's face lose its control. "This is a mistake," he snapped. "Do you know who I am?" But they already knew. Daniel's work had done exactly what it needed to do. Every document I signed in that lounge wasn't an inheritance transfer, it was a legal tether. It connected my father's hidden transactions, his fake investor network, and his collapsing business structure into one undeniable chain of evidence. He turned toward me, eyes burning. "You did this." I finally spoke. "No," I said quietly. "You did." As they cuffed him, his empire didn't just fall, it evaporated. Partners stepped back immediately. His fake accounts were frozen within hours. The image he spent decades building collapsed in real time, in front of everyone he once controlled. Lucas tried to intervene, shouting, pushing forward, but he made the second fatal mistake. He raised his hand toward an officer. He was restrained and arrested on the spot for obstruction and attempted assault. No power. No protection. Just consequences. The investigation later confirmed everything Daniel uncovered. My father's company had been running a long-term fraudulent investment cycle. There was no real wealth left, only illusions and unpaid debts hidden behind layers of deception. And the passbook? It was real. My grandfather's investments, carefully preserved over decades, had grown into over $12 million. My father threw it away because he couldn't recognize anything that didn't come with status attached. After the arrests, I didn't speak to him again. Not when he was let out. Not when cameras followed. Not when everything he built disappeared behind him. The legal aftermath was clear. My father was denied bail due to flight risk and financial obstruction. His assets were seized. His reputation was permanently destroyed. Lucas faced charges that stripped him of any remaining future he thought he had. And me? Nothing was taken from me. No claims. No disputes. Daniel's structure ensured the inheritance remained untouched, legally protected and fully mine. I didn't become someone else. I just stopped shrinking. I kept my job as a nurse. I still showed up for patients. I still held hands in quiet rooms where people needed comfort more than anything else. But now, I also had something else, freedom I didn't have to ask permission for. With time, I restored my grandfather's house. Not as a symbol of revenge, but as something quieter. A place that didn't demand anything from me. A place that finally felt honest. My father lost everything because he believed arrogance was control. And I won, not because I destroyed him. But because I never needed to become like him to survive him. And now, the only question I still carry is this. How many people are still living under someone's control, just because they haven't learned when to stop being silent? If this story stayed with you, take a second to like the video so more people who've ever been underestimated can find it too. Subscribe if you want more stories about quiet strength, hidden power, and revenge that doesn't need noise to win. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had to stay silent around someone who thought they controlled you, and what did you learn from it?